First, let me introduce yourself.
Do I speak to camera?
Yeah.
My name is Lloyd Choi. I'm the writer-director of Lucky Luke.
I'm Nina Yang Bongiovi. I'm a producer on Lucky Luke.
I'm Tony Yang. I'm also a producer on Lucky Luke.
각자 어떤 사람이고 어떻게 해서 여기까지 오게 됐는지 궁금합니다.
I'm here because I was part of the short film that Lloyd made that the feature film was based off of called Same Old.
Hour fucking late. I'm sorry.
That's how we met, and we made the short film 4 years ago, and now we were so lucky to turn it into a feature film, and we were fortunate enough again to have it premiere at Cannes and then go on to the Toronto International Film Festival and then have its Asian premiere here at Busan.
Are you actor?
No, I'm a producer.
But before short film, how you?
So I went to Columbia University for my master's in creative producing. There I made dozens and dozens of short films where I learned how to become an independent producer. I got connected to Lloyd through a cinematographer that we both know named Lauren Lee. He shot the short film, he shot other features, and he shot Lucky Lou, and he's exceptionally talented. So he was how I met Lloyd, but I've always just been an independent producer.
그러면 우리 인터뷰가 약간 그런 홍보 기사기보단 개개인의 좀 이야기를 담는 거라서 왜 제작에 관심 있게 됐는지도 좀 궁금하다.
I mean, this is a story I've told so many times. I was actually pre-med growing up in undergrad. Both my parents are doctors, but I always loved going to the movies. We always went to the theaters. Like, that was our family activity. We would just, anytime there was a big movie, independent, blockbuster, it didn't matter, we would go to the theaters as a family, and that was our pastime. So growing up, I just had a love for cinema, for storytelling. And when I decided to transition into filmmaking, I knew that producing is what I would be best at because I love working with people. Producing is all about taking care of your cast and your crew and making sure that everyone is performing to their best. You are someone that is not meant to, just force people to listen to you. You're meant to empower everyone around you. And just who I am as a person, that's what I know I can do best.
그 많은 사람들이 제작자가 어떤 일을 하는지 잘 모르기도 하고 사람을 관리하는 일이 굉장히 스트레스풀한데 어떻게 사람들한테 힘을 주고 이 일에 즐거움을 느끼는지 궁금해요. 그리고 Are you Korean American?
I'm Chinese American.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. To address the first part of your question, it's all about the team. Something that Nina has said routinely about this film is that we put together an amazing team. And when you have a group of people that you trust, that you respect, that's what makes everything easy when you know that you can go in every day. If you're working 16-hour days in the freezing weather of New York, you know that everyone has your back and that you can trust them to take care of you and just respect and trust one another. So as a producer, that's one of your first goals, is to make sure that you have people around you that are talented, that you can trust, and that are also kind. Like, that is something that good producers know how to do, is you want to work with people that are kind but also talented and hardworking. And that's something that I think good producers know how to do, is they have an eye for people. And that's something that I think every producer that's on this project found, was that they just love Lloyd. They love his talent, they love his work ethic, his personality, and that's what makes us so passionate about it. It's like, there's the story, there's the script, there's everything, but we want to empower directors like Lloyd because they're so talented, but also they deserve these chances to tell their stories. In terms of what it means to make sure that the team is being taken care of, I think it really just comes down to understanding what the creatives want, and that just comes down to having really honest conversations, like, what is your vision, what do you want to do, and making sure that nothing else interferes with that, because the American phrase is a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So something that comes with a producer's responsibility is making sure that the director's goal, the writer's goal, the actor's goals, they're all aligned, and that we are being respectful of what they want at all times.
근데 그럼 이 영화에는 PD가 2명인가요?
Producers?
Yeah,
To
they're
producers.
here, but we actually have several producers on this film.
Ah.
We all kind of take different roles, but also collectively we work together in sync of making sure financing for the film is set. We raise financing to make the movie. We make sure that our investors are happy. So everybody takes a certain different type of role, but we're all producers on the film.
둘은 어떻게 나눠지고 둘이 프로듀서로서 좀 목표한 바가 뭔지 그냥 각자 궁금.
I feel like every producer has their specialty, and when you put the right team together of everybody's skill set, the strength of their each skill set, it really works well for a film. For me, I feel like my strength would be discovering talent, and that's something I'm very, very proud of. I became a real producer about 12 years ago when I was able to produce a film called Fruitvale Station, and that's Ryan Coogler's first movie. Ryan Coogler is the director who just did Sinners this year, but he went from Fruitvale to Creed to Black Panther to Sinners. So ever since that happened for me in 2013, I realized that I wanted to work with the best directors possible. So I would consider myself not only the strength in working with financing in independent film, but also looking for directors I really want to support, where their voice can be amplified for the generation of people who love cinema.
그러면 이제 제가 이분한테 여쭙듯이 다시 여쭤보고 싶은데 왜 프로듀서가 됐고 어떻게 이 일을 즐겁게 하고 있는지 조금 더 얘기해 달라고.
I wasn't sure what producing was like most people, and but I was interested in movie making, and we discovered that the way to get in it was an assistant. And so I started as an assistant to a director, and while I was on set, it was in Hong Kong. And because I couldn't get into Hollywood, I actually went to Hong Kong and got in that way as an assistant. And I realized that I was watching the producers, how they were calling the shots, and they were figuring out how to keep the project together and how to keep the budget on schedule, on time, and intact. So that was when I realized that I want to do what they do, is project together and be able to be behind the scenes to support a filmmaker. So that was the beginning of trying to understand what producing was. I didn't realize that we're the glue that holds the project together. We're the people who holds all the liabilities when things go wrong. And we have to see a project from beginning to end. We don't just go into a project, shoot it, and leave. We actually are part of the project. Sometimes it could be 10 years on a project, it could be 5 years, it could be 20 years. So it usually is when we find a project we love, we read a screenplay and we give notes to the filmmaker to say, what do we bring to the table? Hopefully it elevates the project. And elevates the project to the point where we go, okay, we can go out to financing now. But at the same time you're going out to financing and raising funding, you're also thinking about the cast, the different actors that your director thinks are perfect. But we also give feedback and say, well, this actor may be more valuable for this market, and we have to think globally because our job is to aim for the film to be successful. So once we do financing, casting, we then put together the logistics of how to make the movie. How many days will it take for us to make the movie under the budget that we have raised? So we work with a line producer who works with us on budgeting it out. Line producer is different than a producer because they come in, they budget the film, they make sure they report to producers and tell us where we are, and it's their job to make sure we come under budget. And so we oversee them. Therefore hired. We bring them in, and then after the film's done, they leave. We keep going with the film. We keep going. And I wanted to add that we also do all the negotiations. We negotiate the deals for our actors. We negotiate the deal for our director. We negotiate our financing deals. So we work really closely with entertainment lawyers and agents and managers. So the producer has to negotiate all the deals.
와우, 저는 작은 독립 영화들만 생각해서 놀랐고요. 그리고 두 번째 질문 해주시면 감사합니다.
So the question is why we believed in the project and how we got started on it. I kind of touched on this earlier. I made the short film with Lloyd, and he can talk about his inspiration and stuff like that later. But I think for me, it's Lloyd had been already a filmmaker for 10 years before he did this short film, and there was such a wealth of experience and knowledge and creativity once I got on set with him, and just from reading the script for the first time, everything starts with the script, you know. I could just tell that he had such an immense ability to tell a story. He just knew how to capture emotion, capture actors, capture all of that so well and translate it on screen. So when we made the short film, I guess I'll tell the story now, was we made it and like we submitted it to Cannes, and at Cannes they take in 3,500 submissions every year for short films, and then they pick 9. And we were one of the 9 chosen, and when they were selecting, they kept calling Lloyd, and he kept putting the phone down because it was a French number, so he thought it was spam. So for about a week, they couldn't reach him until finally they sent him an email like, "Do you want to go to Cannes or not?" But yeah, so the short film is absolutely amazing. If you have a chance to watch it, it is one of the inspirations alongside his other short film, Closing Dynasty, for Lucky Liu. And when you watch a short film, you can immediately tell what kind of director they are, and that ability. Like that short film is one of the biggest indicators for their ability to tell a story. So from the short film, Destin Daniel Cretton and Ron Ager and their company saw it, and they were like, wow. So then they talked to Lloyd, and in 2022 they started developing the story with him, the feature version. So it was really just a belief in Lloyd, the belief after seeing his work that we were confident that this would be a really amazing film. When it comes to festivals, nothing is a guarantee. Every producer and director will tell you that, but you always will make the best film possible, and you hope for the best premiere possible, the best festival run, best theatrical run possible. But it always starts from the script and the director. That inspires the confidence for the entire filmmaking team.
Wow, many people really like you and trust you.
I'm happy to let them speak. Yeah.
And then introduce yourself and 어떻게 여기까지 왔는지. 그리고 이 영상을 보는 사람들은 당신처럼 되고 싶은 사람들이 많아요. 당신이 배운 걸 좀 알려주시면 감사하겠습니다.
I came into filmmaking actually almost by accident. I was going to become an aerospace engineer. I was very close to going to school for engineering, and I had a deep instinct that this wasn't the right path, so I ended up moving across the country and lived with all the film students.
Across the country?
Yeah, in Canada.
People Canada.
Yeah, in Canada. And so in university, I ended up living with all the film students, and I ended up helping them with all their films, their student films. So I was the location PA, I was the boom op, I did every job imaginable on set. And so I fell in love with the process first. It wasn't this ambition to become a filmmaker. I didn't know that was a possibility with how I grew up. So it was by accident. And so I loved the process. I started devouring all the films and international foreign films as well, and just became very inspired. And so I decided I want to become a filmmaker. I graduated and I started making music videos. I found my way into commercials, and then I started doing branded short films as well. And then it led me to when the COVID lockdown happened and there was no work, I kind of had a moment to reflect in 2021 and wanted to make a film for myself, something that I truly cared about. And so I just texted my friend and cinematographer Norm Lee, and I said, let's go make a short film. I said, do you know a good producer? And he connected me with Tony. And so it was just us three, just three of us. I wrote a script, we cast, and within 3-4 months we're making a film. Basically a no-budget film, low-budget film over 5 days. During COVID lockdown, we stole every location. We had one camera, no lights, and we just went out and made a film. And it kind of brought me back to my roots of filmmaking, where I had nothing, but I tried to make something with very big constraints. And so that was inspiring and reinvigorated this fire in me to tell stories that I truly cared about. And that film opened all the doors for me. That one film, went to Cannes, did an incredible festival tour, and led to the feature film, led me to meet Nina and Destin and put this team together. And they brought me in and helped me and supported me the whole way. and it was that risk that I took back in 2021 on myself, and that self-reflection that sort of brought me here.
자아 성찰을 어떻게 했는지 궁금하고.
With self-reflection, I think we're all just locked down. I was stuck in a room in New York City. I was ordering food every single day from delivery drivers, and I was just compelled by this community that was, all around us in the city. Yet no one ever really looked at them. Even I didn't really look at them at the time. But it was in that COVID lockdown where they were feeding the city, I just felt this curiosity and this connection with these people that were considered, essential workers. So that really, drew me into the story and why I wanted to make it. And again, the self-reflection was, why didn't I look at this community, these people all around me? And that was sort of the seed and the spark to dig into the story, into this working class community.
이 영화를 보고 사람들이 뭔가 이제 한국계 감독이니까 뭔가 주인공을 한국 사람으로도 할 수 있었는데 약간 중국 사람인 거에서도 궁금함을 가진 사람이 있었어요.
Definitely. I'm Korean Canadian, so I grew up in Canada, but moved to the US around 9 years ago. And for me, it really came from the research I did around this community. The delivery driver community in New York City specifically has a very certain demographic of the type of immigrants that work. So in that research, I was of course looking for that Korean connection to the character, but I just didn't find any Korean delivery drivers actually. It was primarily, South Asian. There was a lot of East Asian in terms of Chinese delivery drivers, also African delivery drivers, and Hispanic delivery drivers. So there's specific communities that I wanted to, that I discovered in my research, and wanted to be true to that and authentic.
And how you 슈퍼스타 장첸, your first movie.
Yes, very lucky.
Very lucky. We're very lucky, Lou.
Very, very lucky. I mean, the whole production, I have felt truly lucky throughout the whole thing. Everything worked perfectly. I met Nina back in May and over lunch, and she came in on board and brought investment very quickly. And within May 2024, 1 year later in May 2025, we're premiering at Cannes. So that's a very fast timeline for any movie. And within that timeline, we, reached out to Chang Chen and got the script to him. He read it. I did a Zoom call with him. I flew to Taiwan to meet him, and we worked really hard to get him. He was our #1 actor that we wanted, and so we feel truly lucky that he was that he connected with the story as a father, but also that he trusted a first-time filmmaker to work with on his first feature film. So again, I feel truly blessed and lucky about this whole process and this whole film.
그럼 this is power of your script?
I think the power of the script. Yeah, I think it was really everything really starts from a good script, a good story, a good character, and I think that any actor has to feel a connection to that story. This is an independent movie. This isn't a huge payday for anybody. But so I think he felt this deep, soulful connection to the character and also to us eventually. I think he met all of us, and I think he really liked all of us. And so there was a trust there that was built.
그러면 how you script have power?
I mean, writing a good script is difficult. I think there's for me, structure is such a powerful thing. How you structure a movie and how you guide an audience through the ups and downs of a character. This one specifically takes place over 2 days. So there's already this incredible tension built into the story. But then there's a balancing act you have to find in the story for the peaks and valleys. The wins and losses. That's a hard thing. That took a year and a half to craft. That balance, the rhythm in the film. And so for me, the story really came into place when there was a distinct midpoint in the film that kind of changes the trajectory of the story and surprises the audience. And when I discovered that, that's when I found and felt I had a strong script and a strong story.
그러면 1년 반 동안 대본 썼어요?
How long did I write for?
I mean, you started writing in 2022.
2022, about a year and a half of writing and revisions, and so a lot of writing is rewriting. The first draft, it took me maybe just 3 months to write the whole first draft, but then it took me about a year of rewriting, and I think good ideas stick, and I think good writing takes time. You know, you have to write something, then take a bit of time away from it, and if that idea is still good, that means it's a good idea. So I think for me, all screenwriting takes just the patience, I think, and understanding that, you know, you need a bit of time to get that script to the right place.
I actually met Destin Daniel Cretin in 2023. We had brunch together, and he said, I have something for you to look at, but it's not ready yet. He's still rewriting. And then in 2024, he goes, not ready, but almost.
Yeah, and it's true. It's
and
true.
it was true.
Yeah, and again, it's having good producers
Yeah.
behind you to give you that feedback, because sometimes writing is so insular and it's very lonely, and you need good people around you to send it to and give you perspective, and they can also tell you this is maybe not a good idea, even though you felt in the moment it was a great idea. They can give you that bouncing board that will guide you to the right place.
And do you know who Destin Daniel Cretin is, our producer? He's a very big director who's also producing. And he's done also very great movies before that. And now he's directing Spider-Man. So he is kind of like Lloyd's mentor, you know.
Yeah, and he did one of my favorite independent movies, Short Term 12. I don't know if you know that film, but he made that 2012, 13? 2013. And that was a big reason for me to trust him and his team, was he comes from an independent background. You know, I wanted really good and kind people around me, and so it's my job as well, and producer's job to curate the team, and so
and to protect him.
Yeah, I felt very protected.
그러면 만약에 어떤 학생이 와서 어떻게 하면 시나리오를 잘 써요 물어보면 어떤 대답을 해줄 수 있을 것 같아요? 여기서 배운 걸 좀 얘기해 준다면?
This is probably only my third feature film that I wrote. So my other ones were almost practice to get to here. So I think it just takes keep writing. I think that's the number one thing, is just write. But also watch a lot of movies and read a lot of really good scripts. Go to the masterpieces, find their scripts online, and understand why is this film really good? What is the structure? What is the characters that they're developing? What are the twists and turns that they're putting in the film? It's I think a good script is amazing structure at the very beginning. So I would read a lot of screenplays from, I mean, you can go back to The Godfather. It's all online, and you kind of understand why the script works really well. And then I watch the film and how do they translate it from the script to the screen, because that's a whole different process. I think writing is one thing, but then directing and then making it and understanding is going to change is another thing. So for me, it's just one part of the process. It's a blueprint, and it will evolve and become something else. And I find that process also very beautiful, and I lean into that as well.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. I think one thing that Lloyd mentioned earlier was how much research he did into the community, into these characters, and that is something that I think should also be very emphasized, because structure is important, but so is character and understanding people, understanding how people operate, how people think, how emotions work, and understanding character. Because I think a big pitfall that a lot of young screenwriters have is they want scenes to happen. They're like, oh, I want this big spectacle, I want an action scene to happen here, but they don't tie it to a character's motivation. And I think what Lloyd really had, like, intrinsically in terms of the structure, was every single character beat made sense. There was a progression of the character's journey, and that tied into structure. So character and structure always have to go hand in hand. And a lot of times young directors and writers will be like, oh, I want them to get into a conflict now. I'm like, does that actually make sense from the character's perspective? So that's something that I think should be really emphasized, is doing a lot of research, understanding your character. Something my screenwriting professor asked me when I first took screenwriting classes was, how's your main character take their coffee? What do they think about when they go to bed? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? And if you can't answer those questions, if you don't even know, say, their last name, how are you going to write a whole 2-hour film about them?
And another piece of advice is just to live life.
Yeah.
I think you have to experience. I think there's a lot of people so obsessed with the goal of getting somewhere, but they forget to just travel and fall in love, fall out of love, really go to different countries and experience different things, different people. I had the benefit of traveling a lot, and so just observing and feeling and living as much life as you can. That'll just fuel you as an artist. So it's the balance. Of course, you have to be ambitious and work very hard, but also don't forget the other side.
I love that, because I think a lot of young filmmakers, if they're 23, they're like, I want to make my movie now, but they haven't lived life.
Yeah.
And I work with filmmakers who started, Boots Riley started, he made his first film at 47 that I produced, and he was at one point sad and said, he goes, I wish I had started earlier so I can make so many movies. And then he paused and he goes, but then I wouldn't have lived the life I've had to make this movie at 47. So when he said that, it was so great to see a visionary filmmaker come through by using all his life experiences. And I think a lot of young filmmakers forget that because they're in such a hurry. They're like, I want to be 22, 23 and make a movie. And unless they're geniuses,
and there are some out there.
There are out there.
For sure.
Kugler's first film is 23.
Yeah.
But when he made that at 23, every 22-year-old is like, I'm going to do that, and not realizing that that's somewhat very, very special.
Very rare.
Yeah.
그리고 이거 좀 민감한 질문이기도 한데 사실 이게 뭔가 노동계층에 대한 영화를 만들었는데 하지만 이게 예술 영화고 이 영화가 틀어지는 게 좀 영화제고 이제 거기 오는 사람들 중에 좀 예술에 관심 있는 사람이 많다 보니까 좀 이런 영화가 좀 실제 노동계층이 보기보다는 그래도 좀 더 어떤 문화 자본을 가진 사람들이 보고 저도 영화를 너무 좋아하지만 이런 게 좀 이상하게 느껴지기도 하는데 뭔가 만들면서 이런 고민도 있었는지 그리고 이런 세상을 살아가는데 뭔가 되게 해야 될 정치나 뭐 사회나 뭔가 해야 될 게 많은데 이렇게 예술을 한다는 게 가끔은 좀 이상하게 느껴지기도 하고 이렇게 이야기를 만들고 영화를 만드는 게 좀 너무 좋지만 이상하게 느껴지기도 하는데 그런 생각을 하는지 궁금합니다.
I think for me, it never comes from a point of politics of why I make something. There's no purpose of making something. It's a story I am connected to. It's a community I'm connected to. My family comes from a working class background. I come from a working class background. So for me, I'm drawn and I love, I see my father, my grandfather, the immigrants, there are immigrants who came to Canada as well. So for me, it's that personal connection and that responsibility to tell that story in a very honest, truthful way. So that's really the beginning. It never starts with thesis or a message I'm trying to get across. It's always a human, empathetic eye that I come with at the beginning. What was the second part of the question? I think art is one of the most powerful things in the world. In terms of, I don't know. Without art, there's no change, in my opinion. I think there's this instinct and this sort of trend to not look at the difficult subjects or look at the working class, to make films that make you laugh and they're very sort of like popcorn and don't dig deeper into something. There needs to be cinema around those that aren't given the light. I think that's very important as well. That was a big reason for me to push to make this film. This is a community that's often overlooked and often never sort of given the light and to tell their story in a very human and powerful way.
Can I just add something because of your question? You're saying not necessarily the people you're telling the story of will see your film, but most people who see the film will now see the delivery drivers differently. It brings like empathy and perspective of kind of acknowledging their
Yes.
presence, and that's
Yeah.
they may not see the film, but and everybody else who sees the film will acknowledge them in a different way.
I think they connect to
Yeah.
the character, and it's a subtle thing. Actually,
Yeah.
one of the greatest compliments we get from audience members is like they look at their delivery driver just in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
They empathize just a bit more, and I think that's an incredible. That's the power of art, is to do that, just to change someone just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
땡큐. 그리고 그 최근에 약간 미국 정치에서 좀 이민자에 대한 대처 이런 게 많이 되고 있는데 이런 분위기가 좀 아시안 아메리칸 영화나 이민자를 다룬 작품의 뭐 제작 배급 환경에 어떤 영향을 미친다고 생각하는지 그리고 이런 분위기 속에서 창작자로서 좀 더 조심하거나 아니면 좀 더 과감해지는 지점이 있는지 궁금합니다.
How do you feel about that?
I feel that we, as storytellers, filmmakers, producers, we want to do what we love in the story. We want to do stories that are authentic to specific cultures. I don't think any of us is censoring ourselves in the stories that what we want to tell. I know that, like for me personally, I want to tell stories that are underrepresented, and Lucky Lou is a story that's underrepresented. And as long as we make films that are honest and entertaining and create emotions, hopefully we find our audiences. We stay away from politics, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
It's just about doing the best possible job in creating something that is beautiful, that will stay, and like you were saying the other day, time capsule, right? You're creating a time capsule of this time, this space, and these people. And hopefully it'll stay around for decades, and people will reflect on it and say, wow, remember that film in 2025 about e-delivery drivers? and just to be a conversation piece, to create dialogue about humanity.
네, 이해했습니다. 그리고 사실 저도 한국에서만 자라서 에이시안 아메리칸에 대해서 몰랐는데 미국에 가서 친구들을 사귀면서 아시아 아메리칸으로서 마이너 필링스 이런 것들 좀 많이 들었는데 그 프로듀서님이 그 GV에서 에이시안 연대에 대해서 말씀하신 적이 있는데 그거에 대해서 좀 더 말해주실 수 있는지.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just in terms of, I think everyone's experience as an Asian American or as someone who considers themselves as a minority in Canada or in America, I think we all have different experiences, but there is universal feeling of just being a little bit of an outsider. I think that underlies a lot of our sort of inner beings and what drives us, how we behave, how we see the world. And I think that's a very unique and I think quite powerful perspective, and I think that gives us a unique voice and a way of telling stories and the films we're going to make. And so there's this incredible movement right now in the US of minority filmmakers, Asian American filmmakers. I consider the new wave of Asian American cinema, which I think is incredible. It's only in the last 5 years there's been more than 10 Asian American filmmakers now making movies, and that's such a small number. Before there were like 3. So recently, just with producers like Nina and Tony, and there's an incredible I don't know, momentum right
It's like
now.
a groundswell,
Yeah.
I feel, and about solidarity. So Asian Americans in the past have been maybe a little divided, right? It's like you're Korean, you're Japanese, you're Chinese, you're Southeast Asian. So I think there's a movement to bring all of us together and support each other. Whatever the film's about, if it's Asian American, if it's Pacific Islander, if it's Native Hawaiian, all inclusive under the umbrella of supporting each other. And when we support each other, there's more power, right? And we are not only in filmmakers and producers, but executives in Hollywood, managers, agents. They all are coming together. We are all coming together to acknowledge each other's work, because we have to be in every part of the ecosystem of filmmaking in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We can't just only be filmmakers. We have to pretty much across the board cover all the aspects of filmmaking, and then including investors too. Our financiers, investors are also Asian. So we want to empower, we want to inspire them so they'll back us and for them to continue investing in the talent that we are working with.
I mean, to touch on the subject of feeling like a minority, I feel like you guys said you don't experience that in Korea, but in the US for like decades, like when we go to a movie, we don't see Asian faces on the screen. So imagine just like throughout your childhood and into adulthood, you're like, oh, who is someone that I can look up to? What is a story that means something to me? And I think now we are in a position where we can start creating those stories so that future generations of Asian Americans and Asian Canadians and just any AAPI community in the West where they feel like a minority, they feel seen. They don't feel like they're so alone in terms of their stories and their experiences. And we can create these stories where they can watch a film and be like, oh, there are people out there similar to me. There are stories that make me feel seen. That is something that we hear a lot after the film finishes, like, oh, I relate to this experience in a way that I haven't before in any other movie that I've seen. And that's so inspiring to hear, that after, your entire life into adulthood that you've never seen a movie about an immigrant experience that was similar to yours until now. So I think that's why we do what we do and why solidarity is so important, is that we want to continue to inspire future generations.
Yeah, I know Tony and I want more Asian producers overall. Because a lot of times we have Asian actors and now Asian directors, not as many Asian producers. So we're constantly pushing that forward and say, hey, there's many of us who are doing what we do and we love it and we have a voice in championing the filmmakers we want to champion. So.
이제 거의 마지막에 이 영화를 만들면서 깊이 느꼈던 뭔가가 있으면 각자 나눠주시면 감사할 것 같아요.
I mean, are you talking about lessons specifically about like the process of filmmaking, about lessons that we've taken away as humans?
그냥 강렬했던 경험? 아니면 이 영화를 만들면서 이런 게 되게 고민이고 뭔가 힘들었는데 결국 이제 풀어냈잖아요.
I think Nina's talked about this, about how we don't have that many Asian producers. And I think one thing that coming from short films is that as a producer, I was often the only producer on the short film. So I felt very alone. And like something that I learned through this process was how important it can be to build that team around you so you don't feel like you have to take the weight of the entire production on your shoulders. And I think that's something that a lot of people feel in this industry, because there is a lot of ego in filmmaking, but when you set that aside and you let people help you and you ask for help, I think so many people, especially filmmakers, are afraid to ask for help. But I think that was a huge lesson that I learned, especially on this feature. Nina has been an incredible mentor to me. Like I don't think you guys know just how incredible her track record and how amazing of a producer she is
She's an
in
incredible
the US.
And I lead 손석희?
Yeah.
You movie?
Oh, Sonsoku.
소석구.
Yes.
So being able to learn and have people that you can trust and working with, that is one of the biggest lessons I've had, where like, oh, I don't have to do every single thing myself. And you can trust that there are other capable people around you that can make you better exponentially. Like 1 + 1 is not necessarily 2 in filmmaking. When you have so many other people around you, it can be exponential.
My lesson for this movie is that it reminded me how important independent cinema is, because in the last few years, the independent space, the independent filmmaking has become harder and harder. And I've been very lucky that I had a runway to build my career. So I was thinking, I'll just do studio films and studio television, and I'm good. And then I meet him, and I was like, oh, Lloyd, you're so talented. I have to go right back into independent film. But what it reminded me of is why it's so important, and I will continue to champion filmmakers in the independent films, because your voice gets launched into this world and you continue to tell your different stories that will make a difference for people's lives. And we can do that in independent cinema. It's harder to do that in studio films because there's such a different mandate. So my lesson is to continue to withhold independent cinema in the best way possible, figuring out solutions. How do we upkeep it? And there's a lot of great discussions. So that's my lesson, is not to give up, because it's hard, but it's worth it. Yeah.
My biggest lesson is probably it's actually an affirmation or reaffirming something that I really want to keep doing in my filmmaking process is the power of kindness and good people around you. I think in filmmaking, it's very stressful. It's very long, long hours, and there's a lot of there can be some tension on set. But when you're surrounded by amazing people, your friends, and with sort of this collective understanding to treat people well, that's the environment I want to be in when I make something. When we're working with actors, working with crew. And I think it reaffirmed that it is a possibility. We had such an incredible experience on a film. It was a seamless shoot. Of course, there's little hiccups along the way, but overall, just in terms of the energy we all created on set, it makes me want to make another movie.
Yeah.
I'm not traumatized by this experience. I'm actually empowered to make another one because I just had fun, and I think people forget to have fun on set. And so I had a blast, and I want to do it again.
We had so much joy and laughter and
Yes.
fun, and that's so important in filmmaking. I think people easily forget that part.
Forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's.
And we're so proud. We're so proud of what we see on screen.
Yeah.
We always say when you watch a film, that the connectivity is so tight. It's because the team behind it really got along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I learned is that it is possible.
Yeah.
And you can do it again and again.
Yeah.
그럼 마지막으로 이 한국에 되게 독립영화를 사랑하는 시네필들이 많거든요. 그 사람들에게 아직 이게 뭐 개봉 여부가 확정되진 않았지만 이 영화가 어떤 영화인지 한마디 해주신다면 감사하겠습니다.
Yeah, so Lucky Lou is about an e-bike delivery driver in New York City who gets his bike stolen. And this is on the eve of his family finally immigrating to the city. So we just follow him over 2 days as he tries to figure it out and sort of salvage his life and then put it back together and also manage his family arriving and making sure they come safely and feel at home. And so this story is really about a father and his daughter and his wife and that journey of trying to achieve the American dream.
Yeah. OK，
我叫 Queenie，
这牙不好吗
我们在美国，你要叫我的英文名字。
？Queenie 我叫不习惯。
你是美国人哎，没有那么难吧？这里好多垃圾哦，
纽约就是这样。
好奇怪哦。
그리고 your Korean project?
I have a Korean American project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
네.
that's on Soku. Yes, and that's in post-production right now. It's a love story between two Korean Americans on the East Coast and how when they found each other's love, it healed themselves.
그리고 그 요구르트 아줌마 next project 조금 얘기해 줄 수 있어요?
So I have another project I've written called Yakot Dajima, and it just follows. Actually, I don't want to give up too much. I don't want to kind of give it away yet because it's still being put together.
Okay.
But the script is fully written, and we're now just starting to go out to potential actors. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, I think Korean culture is incredible. We've had an amazing time here in Busan, and Korean cinema has been growing and been amazing for so long. Like Park Chan-wook, Bong Joon-ho, there's been so many incredible films. For opening ceremony, we saw No Other Choice, and we thought that was amazing. And like the Korean cinema to me has always just had such an incredible blend of so many different elements: comedy, action, drama, and I think that's something that Korean cinema has always been exceptional at, is combining all of these elements that you don't think work, but when directors like Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook, they do it, it just works exceptionally well.
I mean, I'm Korean Canadian, but I grew up in Canada, so I've only been here a few times, and it's a pretty emotional experience whenever I come back to Korea because it feels, it feels very familiar in a weird way. I recognize people. I can see my uncles and aunts and everybody. So for me, I always love coming back to Korea, and I actually want to make movies in Korea. and connect back with my roots. So that's a really important thing for me in the future. And you know, Korean cinema has inspired me my entire life. I kind of grew up watching it as a kid as well. Lee Chang-dong is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So
Oh, many foreigner people like Lee Chang-dong.
he's amazing, and you know, it inspires me greatly for the type of movies I want to make eventually. So yeah, Korean cinema has been part of my life for many years.
I feel so inspired being here. This is my first Busan Film Festival. I think that the next time we come back, we're going to be way more cooler because we didn't know what we were doing. When we had to walk the red carpet, all three of us were very awkward. And everybody else was so cool.
Yeah, Chang was the one guiding us through the red carpet.
Yeah, we feel a little awkward. But now, next time we come back, we're going to be so cool and slick. And we're going to make faces and this stuff and all that. But overall, I just feel, I always note Korean cinema as the standard, especially for Asian cinema overall. I work in Taiwan often now with filmmakers there and different organizations that want to come onto the world stage of cinema, and everybody looks at Korean cinema as the standard. So it's very inspirational, and that for storytelling, I always love that the filmmakers take such big swings as subjects that are so normal, and then there's like no censorship. They just go all out, and I feel like that's creative freedom at its finest. So I continue to look at Korean cinema as the standard to reach for, and when it comes to storytelling. So.
아, 감사합니다. 그럼 마지막으로 그냥 뭐 안녕.
안녕하세요.
런치.
감사합니다.
아, 감사합니다.